we're back.
Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. This is Salt of the Streets, part 2 of episode 138. My name is Donovan.
I'm Colin.
We are happy to have you guys here. Again, thank you for joining us here on YouTube.com, Salt of the Streets, Instagram.com/Salt of the Streets, Patreon.com/Salt of the Streets. Go there, sign up, help us make more, better content just like this. You can find all this at saltofthestreets.com. You can also find our own personal social media. I am at Salt of the Street on Twitter and at alpaca_Donovan on Instagram. Colin is a Big Bird Offie on both of those things. Here, part 2, we're going to be talking about the newly Republican-controlled House Oversight Committee. They opened up an investigation last week into Joe Biden and his family and his business ties with his son. They were pretty explicit. The investigation is not into Hunter Biden because they already know he's a bad actor. Like, they already know he's kind of a piece of garbage. This is about Joe Biden, his lies about his business dealings, and his business dealings collectively with Hunter Biden. So we were talking about Twitter before we opened this up, right? And we we're talking about how much hate Elon Musk is getting. And I don't feel bad for him or anything, but it's just interesting to see. Like I said, I mean, he can't do anything without an enormous amount of people complaining about it.
You just can't do anything right.
Anything without people complaining about it.
Yep.
And I was questioning, what is functionally different about Twitter today than it was before Elon Musk bought it.
Yeah, literally nothing.
Nothing. Functionally nothing.
Yep.
There are more people who have blue check marks, but all the people who had blue check marks before have another little thing that says official underneath it. So we all know.
We learned that lesson.
That
was
a mistake, obviously. That's fine. We're still figuring things out.
The entire stock market just was like, I don't know what to fucking do anymore.
Yeah.
Apparently verified accounts of... It was like major companies, people just grabbing up these things and becoming verified and naming them and making fucked up memes and shit. Like, that was so good.
Yeah. But the violence thing, the claims of violence, the claims like this is dangerous, people are going to die. Mm-hmm. You have to subject yourself to other people, right? If other people are randomly coming across you, it's because you're using hashtags, you're replying to somebody, you're doing something that's making you appear in their feed. Yeah. People don't just type in random accounts and find random people to harass for no reason at all. I'm not justifying harassment on any level, but I'm saying if you have to put yourself into that, because if I go on Twitter and I just scroll, no one ever tweets at me.
Nope.
No one ever fucking talks to me. It is only when I start to reply to news stories, when I start to retweet people, when I do that type of shit, that is when other people that I don't know will interact with me and will call me a fucking idiot and all that type of shit.
Yeah.
If you don't do those things, you won't have negative interactions.
Right.
You will only be watching because that's all I do on Twitter. I don't hardly tweet at all.
Yep.
When I get on tears, I be getting on fucking tears. But but the vast majority of the time, I'm just scrolling on Twitter, and people are not harassing me for no reason because they don't know that I am alive on here.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like John Podhoretz, Commentary Magazine fame. He used to be a big-time Twitter participation guy. He was on there all the time talking shit, getting in fights, doing the whole 9 yards. But eventually he gave up Twitter for a year, I think, and then came back in a purely observational context. And even somebody like him, who is getting tweeted at John Podhoretz, this, that, and the other thing, he doesn't see any of that because he doesn't look at his mentions. So that stuff just doesn't come across.
Right.
And so you have to choose to participate at whatever level you want to participate at. You can be a fly on the wall and just watch the dumpster fire of Twitter if you want. Or you can get in there and sling trash around with everybody else. But nobody that uses Twitter thinks that it is what's the right word I want to use? It's a dumpster.
It's not a happy place.
No, it's a place for happy people. It's a place to go get in the mud, man. It is a dirty place to go be, and it's really fun if you know what you're getting into. If you want it to be all happy and joyful, and you're just on the wrong platform.
Yeah.
Period. I would suggest at that point you should probably just not be on social media because it's all just trash. Because it's just people who have this lovely anonymity that they feel posting whatever thought runs through their brain at that point, and then they just throw it on there, and it's all super smart. So it's a whole deal. Recording
if you want. I remember you were torn about it before.
I was.
You were gonna.
I was really, really happy about how that worked out last time. I was. Thank you.
You're the computer man.
The biggest thing now going on Twitter is he's implementing the new verification system. It's coming along, and I haven't looked too much into it. I got an article I might pull up later so we can learn about it together in the grab bag, but he's got this new colored badge system going on, and he's about to actually roll it out, and they're going to do the new version of verification, I guess, very, very soon.
Yeah.
So that'll be a whole deal. The important thing is he needs to figure out how this place is going to make money, because now that it's a private company, it needs to make money or it won't be around.
Right.
Because he can only float it with SpaceX money for so long, and Tesla money and all that. But because it'll just go down. It's not propped up the way it was propped up before. I don't know how they ever survived beforehand. It was a public company, so I guess it was just a constant influx of cash from all the investors and whatever, but it never made money. It's never made money as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Like as far as I know anyways. I mean, there's a lot of ads and stuff on there obviously now still, but most of it came from like private investment.
And I think as long as there's growth, people will continue to invest in it.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the deal, that they were still growing. And that was kind of the question when he bought it. They're not growing anymore. They're not making any money. They're not. Yeah. This is a stagnant business at this point. Now, and we'll get into this more, because I think the breaking point segment is going to be a really good.
That'll be a good Twitter one, Yeah, the reason we got on this tangent, because there's going to be an aspect of this GOP investigation stuff where Elon and Twitter are going to be participating in. But we will get to that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, so let's talk about this investigation, right? So it was last week that it was announced. I think it was like last Thursday, a week from yesterday, I think.
Big old press conference.
Yeah, huge press conference that they had all the leaders of... would be the chairman of the Oversight Committee, and Jim Jordan as well, who's going to be the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. Bilbo's
in the chat.
Thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Bilbo. So they launched the investigation.
Indeed.
And the oversight investigation is into Joe Biden, his business ties with Hunter Biden, his lies around it, and the way that he's like defrauding the American people, essentially, right?
Through the SARS. Is that what those were? Those reports, banking reports, suspicious activity reports.
Yes.
It is a SAR. Primarily run using those, I guess, as the guidelines, because of apparently listening to, oh God, what's his name? He's like a representative from Ohio or something like that, who's leading the oversight committee.
Yeah.
I got his name in here at some point. We'll bring it up, but apparently that's the avenue he's looking to go down through. That one is suspicious activity reports in all of these various business dealings and stuff like that, where red flags went up and then nothing was ever done about them. Nothing was ever pursued. And so they have the backlog of SARs, and they're going to start running those down, running through the banking side of things, looking at all the financials and all that. And that will spin off whatever it's going to spin off, because there will be multiple spin-offs at that point. But that's the way they're going to go. And then on the other side of the investigations, we have I'm not going to wear a suit and tie guy, or I'm not going to wear a suit, even though I will wear a tie, Jim Jordan. And he's going to be now the ranking member on the, what is that? The Judiciary Committee. The Judiciary Committee, yeah. Judiciary Committee. And so they're going to be looking at that side of the House through, I forget exactly the specifics of what exactly he brought up during that.
Jim Jordan said that he has, I think he said 15 whistleblowers from the Department of Justice. Different portions of the Department of Justice that are coming forward to talk to him about the partisanship involved in the different departments. And
we've talked about that a little bit with, was it Chuck Grassley, I think?
Yeah, Tim Tebow also, who was the guy, the FBI agent that helped cover up the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Yeah.
So all these people are kind of involved in this larger investigation. The second investigation that's being done for the House Republicans, this one, like you were saying, is through the Judiciary Committee.
Yep.
They were announcing both of these investigations. The Biden one primarily, because they're still getting together whistleblowers and documents and stuff like that for the Jim Jordan one. But that is happening. Yeah,
that'll be a really interesting thing, especially because we don't even technically know the full-on leadership makeup of the House GOP at this time. we have nominations set for House leadership, and I think most of the committee chairmen's positions are pretty much set at this point. Which is like technically Jim Jordan isn't the head of the Judiciary Committee yet. You have to wait till the actual new Congress comes in, and then everybody gets their official titles. But as far as who's going to get what, those two guys will be the heads of those chairs, which is why they're announcing these investigations now.
Yes.
Kevin McCarthy, on the other hand, his speakership is not fully cemented yet. But that I don't think that'll matter. I don't think whoever does become Speaker of the House, I don't think that's really going to change too much on how these investigations go down. I don't think it's going to affect it that much because the wider GOP, regardless of whoever's in charge in the House, still want these things to go down.
Yes, there's been some question from people like Matt Gaetz and stuff like that on whether or not they're going to support Kevin McCarthy for Speaker, and he needs those votes if he's going to get there.
Yeah, there's 5 or 6 members. I think 4 of them are already hard no's, and it's going to hinge on a couple people that have softly said they may not support his nomination, and then they still need a majority of, I guess, of people in the House to do that. So that'll be interesting as time goes on. But like I said, I don't think that'll affect the way these investigations go down at the end, though. So even with that up in the air, these things are still going to go forward. Is it Leahy? I keep thinking about that.
Patrick Leahy?
No, it's not Patrick Leahy.
No, because he's a senator.
I'm going to look it up real quick because I know I got it right here.
Who?
The guy from Ohio that's leading the oversight.
Oh, Comer. Yeah, his name is Comer.
There's never been a better time to get away.
Yes.
With a great deal on the Hyundai you've always wanted.
Easy.
Oh, I hate ads, man.
I was looking for, I will tell you what I've been doing. I've been looking for the document or an article to confirm James Comer claiming the change in the reporting for the suspicious activity reports, because he said that Joe Biden changed the way that those were being done. So I'm just trying to find an article to corroborate that.
Yeah, because that would even, as far as the investigation goes, that'll be even worse for them. It'll look worse, I guess, on the Biden administration at that point, if he was the one that made it so that those SARs may or may not get reported, when previously they would have been sending up red flags if he changed the rules so they didn't have to. Probably when he was vice president, I would assume at that point.
Let's see.
Because most of this stuff took place while he was vice president.
Yes.
And right afterwards.
Here, I'll send you this article from ABC that I'm about to read. This is about the suspicious activity reports. I'll send this to Salty Boys so you can take a look at it. CBS News.
Oh, man.
Okay. House Republicans say Treasury won't hand over Hunter Biden documents unless Democrats join request. A House Republican accused the Treasury Department in a letter Wednesday of running interference for the White House in an effort to stymie efforts to investigate Hunter Biden's finances. Representative James Comer, the ranking member of the House Committee on Oversight and Reform, cited a June 13th phone call in which Treasury officials informed committee Republican staff that they will not provide SARs to committee Republicans unless Democrats join the request. Treasury is refusing to release suspicious activity reports connected with Hunter Biden or his family and associates, including the president. Comer wrote in a letter to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. Comer first requested the records relating to potential suspicious activity reports known as SARs on May 26th and gave the department a deadline of June 8th. He said in his letter Wednesday that the Treasury has yet to turn over the documents. Suspicious activity reports are filed by financial institutions when clients make large cash transactions or transfers that could signal criminal activity, such as tax evasion and money laundering, although many such transactions are not improper. Efforts to secure similar information from 13 banks have been unsuccessful, Comer said Thursday. Quote, the banks have also indicated that they cannot provide information without a subpoena, and we know Democrats aren't interested in conducting oversight on this potential national security threat. When Republicans take back the House, we'll use the gavel to get some answers, Comer said in a statement to CBS News. And this article is from July 7th.
July 7th?
Yes.
Whoa.
Treasury Department officials said in an email to CBS News Wednesday that Treasury provides SARS to Congress in a manner that enables robust oversight and that is consistent with how other sensitive law enforcement information is also produced. It is not a political process. Since the beginning of this administration, Treasury has made SARS available in response to authorized committee requests, and continues to engage in the process with any individual member seeking information. The Treasury Department did not address questions sent by CBS News about Comer's claim that the agency was requiring Democrats to join his request before it will release records related to Hunter Biden. Comer wrote in his May letters that the House Republicans are investigating Hunter Biden and other Biden associates and family members to determine whether their business dealings, quote, compromise U.S. national security and President Biden's ability to lead with impartiality. Under previous administrations, members of Congress could request copies of SARS, but Comer wrote that House Republicans are also investigating why that access has been restricted. Congressional staffers can now review those records in person and cannot make copies. Committee Republicans are investigating whether this change is longstanding policy is motivated by efforts to shield Hunter Biden and potentially President Biden from scrutiny. Comer's May letter cited a CBS report that more than 150 financial transactions involving the global business affairs of either Hunter Biden or the president's brother James Biden were flagged as concerning by the U.S. banks for further review. Large wire transfers were among the transactions flagged. Comer's May request was for all SARS generated in connection with Hunter, other members of the Biden family, and their business partners. He also requested all documents and communications related to the Biden administration's decision to restrict Congress's access to suspicious activity. In Wednesday's letter, he also asked the Treasury Department for records that might otherwise be destroyed pertaining to Biden's family finances since the president's inauguration on January 20th, 2021. Comer's requests appear to provide the underpinnings for probes the committee would pursue if Republicans take control of the House following November's elections. Comer has said the committee will investigate Hunter Biden even if federal investigations out of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware does not lead to charges. A 2019 subpoena has to do with the subpoena. President Biden said he was not involved in the business dealings. I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life, Biden said in October 2020 at the presidential debate. So that was at the presidential debate. And shout out actually to Crowder because he pulled clips from the debate in which he was saying that. He's like, everyone knows this is bullshit. Everyone knows this. These documents are a lie. Like members, ex-heads of the CIA said this was a lie. Okay, now it's been corroborated not only by the New York Post 2 years ago, but now like ABC News earlier this week. Like people that have been waiting 2 years are now have no choice but to corroborate the validity of this information.
Oh,
right?
yeah. So let's go back here a little ways because a lot of this stuff is very concerning to me. Just the fact that, so right now we have, back then I should say, like we had an issue with the Congress getting documents from the Treasury.
Yes.
The Treasury is under the executive
specifically
branch,
related
correct?
to the president. Yeah.
That seems okay. I guess balance of power at that point, checks and balances. You should push back because you're the executive branch, you know. I'm just having a hard time with how does the Treasury Department justify the People's House not being able to get documents related to the executive branch employees. That seems really sus to me.
And this says,
because they wouldn't do it.
This is a quote from Comer. Committee Republicans are investigating whether this change in longstanding policy is motivated by efforts to shield Hunter Biden and potentially President Biden from scrutiny. So it sounds like it's not even... It's just a policy in the administration. Mm-hmm. And it's something like it's almost like precedent that's been set that this is just something people do. If you see something suspicious, I'm the president, just take a look at it.
Yeah.
But when Biden got into office, they stopped doing that. At least when these requests were being made, which is in July, May.
And the Treasury's Department, their reasoning for not releasing these documents essentially was because they needed Democrats on board too.
The Treasury is saying they did it. It is not a political process. Since the beginning of this administration, Treasury has made SARS available in response to authorized committee requests and continues to engage on the process with any individual member seeking information. The next paragraph, the Treasury Department did not address questions sent by CBS News about Comer's claim that the agency is requiring Democrats to join his request before it will release records related to Hunter Biden.
That was his claim.
They just wouldn't even address it.
Yeah.
That's his claim, is that that's what he's being told. And I'm not saying that's not true, but that's what he's saying, and they wouldn't address that claim, that's what he's being told. They're saying that it's not a political process, that they're still going about it the same way. Yeah. But that doesn't change the fact, unless James Comer's out here lying, that he's requested these documents and still doesn't have them.
Yeah, and I would
then the Treasury is lying because he has more evidence in front of him as well. I have requested it, and I don't have these fucking documents.
Yeah.
So obviously,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Obviously, you're not cooperating with me because I don't have the documents.
Doesn't look good. I mean, I hate how just incestuous this is. Every time there gets to be an opposition party going on, and when they're running the executive branch, and then there's an opposition party looking to do possibly legitimate oversight. I mean, you can have an argument either way about whether they're just, Russiagate level investigations to just, try to look for stuff that's, a fishing expedition, if you will, to slander them in the media and all this stuff while they're doing this. Because an investigation never looks good anyways, right? And so there's obviously work being done already in that realm. But to just blatantly say, like, yeah, we're not going to do this, or we're going to appear as if there's going to be pushback. And I think with him saying that he's requested it and they haven't provided documents, that doesn't look good on the Treasury at that point.
No.
Janet Yellen, lovely Janet Yellen, come courtesy from the Fed. It appears as if they're just covering. It makes it look like that.
Optically,
yeah.
Excuse me, at the very least, optically.
Yeah, which is not a good way to be going about things.
No, and I like what you said about Russiagate because this, optically, same as Jenny Yellen, is very similar to the Russiagate investigation. Like, very similar optically.
Yeah.
Because it is the opposite party investigating a president into things that he did when he wasn't in office, but the way that they might interfere with it now. That's... At its bones, that's exactly what Russiagate was. We can argue all day about the legitimacy of one versus the other one. Optically, this looks very, very similar to that.
Yes. Unfortunately, maybe it's just my bias, but I'm like, this is one worth doing.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. So by that I mean that it appears very much to be politically motivated into the president opposite party. That being said, much like Russiagate, if this is true, there is immense national security implications that go into this. Yeah. So you're right. It is worth looking into. Just like when Russiagate was happening, I also, if we remember, I was fucking sold on Russiagate. At the time, I was like, I'm pretty certain that he did it. Oh, yeah. I'm pretty certain. I just couldn't. I also had more faith in government in general at that time, and so I just was like, I just don't understand why they would be doing this if there was nothing to it. Yeah. Because they're all pieces of shit. Yeah. That's why they were doing it. Is because they're all pieces of garbage. So that's why they would do it. I didn't know that at the time. Yeah. Maybe I didn't want to admit it. I didn't know that at the time. Now, like, it looks the same. Probably there's more to this. I don't want to place too much of a claim on it because I was so wrong last time that I was so convinced. Like, I remember when it was coming down to the end, we were doing an episode and I'm staking my claim. Like, I'm pretty certain that this is real. Just like Brett Kavanaugh, the same deal. I thought that I tipped my glass over. I about pissed my pants.
You almost wore your mirror.
Yeah, the same deal with Brett Kavanaugh. I was like very convinced, not because I thought he was a piece of garbage, but because I just couldn't fathom why would somebody lie about these allegations.
To that extent, too.
Why would she go through all this to lie about something? Why would she go through all this to be so dishonest about everything? I just can't fathom why someone would do this. Because you're a piece of garbage. Because you're a piece of garbage, and you're happy to go on national television and waste millions of dollars in taxpayer money to tell a story that people will find out is false months from now, and no one will cover because they already got what they needed from you.
Yeah, and have no accountability on the back end either.
Yes,
much like the Steele dossier in Trump-Russia. I mean, that was the whole deal. And mind you, even back then, that was essentially the sole piece of evidence that everybody had to go off of at that point for the Russiagate stuff. I mean, some business transactions or something like that. But I feel like in this particular case with the Joe Biden situation, we've got years of anecdotal evidence at this point that makes me feel like this investigation, while it is blatantly partisan, 100%, and much like the Russiagate stuff, it looks very, very similar. But in this particular case, I'm like, this one seems like this is a real deal that we should, and don't fuck it up by making it a partisan show. You know, let's not Jan 6 committee this motherfucker. Let's do it by the book. Let's make sure it's right, and let's actually do this, because I bet you this one, I will stake my flag in this one right now. There is some fucking there on this one.
Yeah.
Pretty I feel like we've got enough anecdotal data at this point to be
Right.
like, there's some massive improprieties here going on. Whether it's surface level corruption, getting money for making deals, and what something that
Which would
most
be nothing
people
new.
no,
Yeah,
it would not be
nothing
new. But if we're going to start the accountability train somewhere, it might as well start here.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Right.
I mean, I would also like to know about Burisma and all that whole stuff, because we'll get into it further on as we get into part 3. But like, there's Ukraine to think of. He's got his really creepy fingers in a lot of stuff. And if we're just going to start with the suspicious activity reports, which morally I have questions on the validity of those anyways, because whose fucking business is it to watch your, government should have no business. Banks shouldn't have to report to the government about you spending lots of money. I got some real liberty issues with that. But again, in the system we live in the world we live in, this is the way it is. Obviously, these seem worth pursuing.
And I think it's worth mentioning when you're talking about the partisanship, it's worth mentioning that part of the reason this is so partisan is because there are no Democrats with any form of principles willing to acknowledge the potential validity in this and the evidence that we already have. They're so bought into their own narrative that they refuse to consider that this might be a reality. The same way the Republicans refuse to acknowledge the kernels of truth that existed in Russiagate, right? And that's part of why people believed it, is because he had people in his campaign that were working with the Russians, right? That were talking to the Russian people, that were these things were happening verifiably. There was not an enormous network of connections and a very well orchestrated scheme like the Democrats would have had us believe. There were enough kernels of truth, especially with the Russians hacking into voting machines in that election and stuff like that. All these things seemed like you could draw a good circle around and be like, this is obviously what's going on. In the end, that's not what's going on.
Yeah. Mueller, she wrote, bro.
And it's this, yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing here, that there is enough evidence there that you have to acknowledge that there is potentially something there. And the unwillingness of any Democrats to do that shows you that they are not principled on this manner, because they were so down for Russiagate and are so willing to dismiss this wholly, when there is probably, I feel comfortable saying, more evidence into this investigation than going into Russiagate. Being able to look back,
especially in hindsight now, I'm like, what ended up coming out and what we started with in Russiagate compared to what we're starting out with now. I'm like, this is a big old molehill here.
There's already legitimized investigation into Hunter Biden that
been going on,
right, where there's enough evidence that appears to be actionable that they could actually charge him with something. There wasn't anything like that with the Trump family. There were, like I said, people underneath him, Carter Page, people like that were doing shit that they shouldn't have been doing, on a governmental level. But weren't
trying to subvert the United States or anything, but they were breaking rules.
Right. And that's at the very least what we can verify about what Hunter Biden was doing, not only from the investigation, but from the information on his laptop, that he's obviously has some deals about like selling American energy and like all this type of stuff. That what business does Hunter Biden have selling American energy when he's on a Ukraine energy company? Like, just a lot of shit that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't, the lines don't make sense unless right? One of the very possible theories is an orchestration of larger deals that Hunter Biden is facilitating in the background with these other parties. You know, all these, and Bobulinski, all these other people that are involved in this enormous business venture.
Yeah. So, I forget the name of the more recent business associate of Hunter.
Because there's another whistleblower,
a more reputable business partner.
Because Bobulinski was sus, right?
He was super sus. Well, he's a dirty businessman.
Okay.
He's a dirty businessman.
He's just not a good witness then.
Yeah, he's a bad witness at that point. He's got credibility issues and all. Not to say that what he was saying about those business deals were false at that point, but he's not somebody you want to put front and center because he's done some dirty shit in his life. You know what I mean? Versus this other guy seems way more reputable, and at one point was like, I'm not being involved with you guys anymore. This is all messed up. But,
yes.
I mean, we're talking about, the latest and greatest, the Chinese business deal with Hunter and then his dad and his, what's Joe's brother's name? Hunter's uncle, Jim Biden, and then
James
getting a building or an office for the company that they were doing over there with that Chinese business. And then the fact they're like, well, yeah, here, here's the keys for everybody involved. And there's a key for Joe Biden and shit like that. Like this is not a fucking hidden P tape from a Democrat sponsored fucking, fake ass report. This is very, very different. And if we're going to start
the legitimate business dealings that can be verified, not legitimate, but business dealings that can be verified through money, through communications, emails. That's where the laptop comes into
actual evidence.
Comes into such huge play because you can see the communications being transferred back and forth, and the question around Joe Biden starts to come into. Like we went from the laptop before about when they're talking about the big guy and stuff like that, when it's ambiguous language about who could this be. And some people, Bob Linsky, saying that's definitely Joe Biden. The big guy is Joe Biden. Like,
who else would I be?
Right. It says JB. Like these things, these are things that are happening, but have been done in such a way that it is not yet possible to prove that that person is this other party that is continually referenced is Joe Biden.
Yeah. Well, let's speculate on this a little bit because obviously we're not lawyers and whatever, but you get these SARS reports, right? And there's a lot of big money rolling around, right? These things hit, some financial institution reports a transaction of sufficient size that it triggers a SAR. What might some of those expenses be coming, like tied to Joe Biden at that point? What, because they're going to be looking at these things. Is he paying for trips? Is he paying, because a lot of times he was riding on fucking Air Force 2 with his dad going over there to do that. So there's not, is it like purchasing of office buildings? Is it down payments or like investments into company startup capital? Or, what kind of financial, how are they going to get about this? Just grasping at straws with our limited minds. How are these going to lead to something that ultimately leads to like an indictment of some kind?
And it sounds like there's a couple of different avenues they're going about because they described kind of what looked like disseminations of money, like money being given from one account to another account as like a payout from a specific deal. Mm-hmm. They're also talking about, like you were saying, travel expenses, things like that. They were also talking about entertainment stuff because they were talking about potential human trafficking involvement, not like Hunter Biden is human trafficking, but he was paying escort services who have histories of human trafficking. They really kind of danced around that until they got a specific question about it, that they did what they could. They did what they could to make it sound like he was involved in human trafficking, when really it's like he hired a bunch of whores from a company who traffics in human beings, which is only one step removed from the same thing. Yes. But he is not, according to what they said, human trafficking.
Yeah.
He just
we're not Epstein level
whores.
Here. Yeah. Right. He's paying for hookers and stuff like that, which institutions associated with human trafficking.
Yes.
Not to say that there aren't some completely legitimate escort service.
Certainly, and it's not to denigrate that at all. So I'm not going to sex workers. I'm not going to do that.
Well, it's like Anthony Weiner and stuff like that when he got popped for. I think it was Anthony Weiner originally when he first got popped, because this was back I think when I was living in New York. He got popped because he was, sending lots of money to this escort service and stuff like that. And but that's before he got
the young girls what got him.
Yeah,
right?
That's what really got him. But like that kind of stuff would be one thing. But if you're doing it with like an ultra nefarious, if you're doing with like a Chinese market over there, that's a whole nother level. And then you're dealing with probably what is explicitly probably a lot of North Koreans, human trafficking at that point. Right. Human trafficking, sex slaves, that kind of deal. That's a totally different deal than just like getting some prostitutes.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that's the avenue. That's why they're talking about that there. It's not necessarily just he's getting hookers, because
no, it would be the financial connections between those.
Yeah.
And I would go as far to say, if you're doing anything that involves backdoor deals with Chinese parties, the CCP is involved, which 100%. Is going to immediately add a national security implication to it, that anybody you're dealing with could be a spy.
Yes.
Literally anybody. And that sounds like a very
probably is
like Cold War, Soviet type of thing. But I mean, But for the uninformed, right, there are actual Chinese police stations in the United States where they are fucking finding people who are Chinese nationals who have run away from their homeland, and they're trying to take them back home. And the government's like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
There was a
murder. There was a murder. There was a big murder of like 3 or 4 Chinese nationalists that had a secret weed farm and somebody showed up and just murked them all the other day. But like those are Chinese nationals. Those are here. It's the secret police station in New York City. It's not the only one.
No.
And we're not the only nation either. But even on the more legitimate surface level, you can't, I think Tesla is one of the only, technically, that only company that is not not owned by Chinese nationals, right? That operates in China, that does not have a CCP representative mandated to work there.
Really?
It is on the books. I'm pretty sure that may or may not be true, but I'm pretty sure they're like the one exception for some reason. But if you have any company anywhere in China,
yes,
whether it's the fucking Foxconn building from Apple, there are CCP operatives, party members that you are forced to hire. They have to work there as a party representative.
You seen that shit at Foxconn, right?
Dude.
Dude.
I got videos for later.
Dude.
It is mess. And what's Apple saying?
Like, what do you mean?
I don't know what you're talking about.
What do you mean?
I don't know what.
It's
zero COVID, bro.
Product of California. What do you mean? It's a product of California.
Yeah, it's assembled in California,
Yeah,
bro.
what
I
do you
don't know
mean?
what you're talking
Product
about.
of California. I don't know. Cupertino. That's where we make this shit.
Cupertino, baby.
Yeah. Yes.
So check this shit out, right? Let's add a layer of Elon Musk to this investigation stuff. This from Epoch Times. So Musk hints at revealing internal discussion on censoring New York Post Hunter Biden story.
Oh, shit, yeah.
So, yeah, he had tweeted, Alex, hashtag bring them back, tweeted out, raise your hand if you think Elon Musk should make public all internal discussion about the decision to censor the New York Post story of the Hunter Biden laptop before the 2020 election. In the interest of transparency, and he says this is a necessary, I don't know why I did that, clicked on the button. This is necessary to restore public trust. So long and short of the story is, as far as the investigations are concerned into Hunter Biden, or into Joe Biden, I should say, the communications with the White House that we know now were happening because of what we talked about on last show or the show before that, around the censoring of the Hunter Biden laptop, which you know for a fact is going to be used throughout the investigation process of this.
1,000%.
There will be internal conversations happening behind the scenes at various social media companies, including Twitter,
Facebook.
And now that Elon has all that data, he's got the messages. Looks now like he's going to be releasing that, or at least in some form making it public so that Congress can get access to it. And you know for a fact it's going to come up during these investigations.
He says, here are the receipts.
Word. And he's very into that. And I don't think, look, we don't know anything about any communications they may or may not had, but when that does come out, that's just going to be more icing on the cake about this.
Because they definitely, not only by virtue of the fact that they made a decision on it, they absolutely had internal discussions about it, but also Jack Dorsey has testified about the decision to do that and talked extensively about, like, this was a mistake that we made, after like much discussion. Like there was definitely a whole deal that happened in the background.
Whole deal. And it wasn't just what was released publicly. Like, well, there was going to be some Russian disinformation, so keep your eye on that.
And I want to know what they have to say, because what they said, because I was listening to one of the dailies the other day, and they were talking about a Slack channel that they have at Twitter that is about, like, promoting gender equity or something. It's a Slack channel at work. What is going on here? It's work. This is work. You're at work, right? You're paying you to be here.
Super woke work.
And you have a whole Slack channel, a private IM channel at work about gender equity. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Well, Twitter it ain't like that no more.
No. But the point being, if that's the stuff they're willing to talk about in public, what are they doing?
What else
private?
is going on there?
Yeah.
I mean, over the years, we've been subject to the release of a lot of various Slack communications. And it seems like things get pretty dark on there. It seems like they can get pretty dark on them Slack channels. Like Barry Weiss and the whole Axe thing. You remember that whole story came out? And Lord knows what truly was going on at Twitter. I mean, we're slowly going to be finding out. And particularly related to the laptop, man. The laptop is
Laptop from hell.
It is a bad situation for these people, man. I'm still kind of convinced that this is the laptop is Hunter's revenge.
What an absolute actual crackhead.
Yes.
Like, so much a crackhead, they're like, yeah, I just fucking forgot about it.
Yeah.
I left my laptop somewhere and just forgot about it.
I'm just going to do a bunch of blow and then sit in this sensory deprivation tank and do things.
It just doesn't... By virtue of being a crackhead, none of the stuff that he was doing makes any sense.
Exactly.
Like, it's so confusing. When I read all those articles about the deal with the gun, I just was like, this makes no sense.
Yep.
And you're
The
acting
mind of a
so
crackhead.
crazy, the people around you are acting crazy.
Yes.
This woman is like, not only do I not know what to do, I'm so disconnected from society, I'm just going to take this gun and throw it in a trash can.
At the grocery store.
And it'll be fine.
It was at the grocery store, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And everything will be okay. Nothing bad is going to happen. And then I'm going to go home and tell him what I did.
Yeah.
Hey, I threw your gun away in a trash can. And he's so cracked out that he's like, you got to go get it.
Yeah,
you have to go get it. Because if no one saw you throw it away, they'll definitely not see you come pick it up. You have to go get it.
Yep. And then I'm not going to find it, so I'm going to go ask the store manager.
Why? None of it makes any sense. And it's because you're a crackhead and the people around you don't know what to do.
Yes.
Because you're a crackhead. And because they're operating on a societal level that they never expected this would be part of their life. Your older brother is like a war hero in their eyes, and you're a crackhead.
Yeah.
And now who knows what you're doing now?
Highs and low lows, baby.
Yeah, buying other people's art to sell it as your art and hoping you make money off of it. What's the chance he's really sitting up painting somewhere to sell all that shit?
I mean, I think, if you ask me, I think he's legitimately painting these paintings because they're all just, it's modern art, you know, it's all just a bunch of shit thrown against a fucking canvas.
Yeah.
But I think it's a money laundering scheme. Can't just give you this money so you just buy my paintings.
Especially now that we're watching you.
Yeah, 100%. And so and what better way to just make some crazy ass art than to get to a fucking couple lines, a blow, and then just let it go on canvas. And then boom.
Invest in someone's company to the tune of $70,000 or whatever they're going to buy your painting for.
Yep.
And then make a painting. That person then buys your painting for $70,000.
Mm-hmm. Or my art dealer will pick it up.
Yeah, dealer.
And then we have very explicit.
That's the thing is he had a dealer who was selling his shit and was selling it like without his name on it, so that it wasn't sus.
Yeah.
So that it was really honest and
super honest, bro. Very transparent.
Yeah. That's why
there's no way to make that work in a very transparent manner.
Just so you know, this is really how that's the truth. That's
actually how that
truth.
works.
That's really how it was happening. You can look it up yourself. That's actually how this was being done.
It just seems like there's only you could make a movie like this,
And
dude. This is crackhead logic.
Yep, the powers that be want you to believe that that's genuine. That there's nothing suspicious about that. No. That he's being investigated for all this money that he made around the world. That we can corroborate and validate that he did in fact make this money around the world. Mm-hmm. Don't really know where it's at. Supposed to believe that he smoked it all away. Ridiculous.
That's so much crack.
And now, never really done art before, but now that he's sober, I'm going to express myself through art.
I mean, what's sober, really? You know, just not getting caught.
He's sober. How dare you?
He went on the shows, bro. He went on the Sunday shows.
He's not smoking Parmesan anymore. He's sober.
I was so fucked up, man. I got Parmesan cheese out of my carpet.
Yeah, if I couldn't see pictures of him smoking crack, I might believe he was lying because it's such a silly thing to say.
Exactly.
But there's actual videos of him smoking crack.
Yeah. And honestly, if it wasn't for the videos, you would not be faulted for thinking that's ridiculous because you're not a crackhead.
Right.
So
it's so crazy.
Just if you go back and watch the old Chappelle Show sketches with what was the character's name? The crackhead guy.
Yes.
A lot of that stuff. I mean, a lot of it makes sense.
Well, and recording everything. Like, I love the video of him weighing out meth.
Yes. And then getting upset.
Yeah, what are you doing? Why are you taking a video of this?
Telling you.
Because you're so fucked up that you're not... Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. My dad was a vice president, and it doesn't matter that I have a video in 2020 or whatever year that was of me weighing out fucking illicit drugs on a scale Doesn't matter. No one will ever find it.
I'm going to keep
ever.
that on my laptop.
Yes. Not only am I going to make it, I'm going to keep it.
Because you got to think, well, I guess that's
For the memories.
That's iCloud. So it's just instantly up on the cloud at that point, which is why I'm like, why would you're going to take a cell phone video and then put it on your laptop? But then
Just
I'm like,
all
well,
in
it's
the cloud.
iCloud. It's all cloud type shit. Oh, that's fun. So you think we're actually going to get anything from this? Or are we just going to do full on Potemkin Village partisan hackery with nothing going on?
I would like to hope that we get something from this, right? I think the Republicans are going to put some dogs on it. And I think that they will.
These people seem hungry, bro.
They're going to receive an immense amount of pushback from the administration, from the executive branch.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to fight him every way. I think they learned a lot of lessons from Donald Trump during the impeachment. That during the impeachment, Donald Trump's legal team was largely working with the impeachment team. They were being pretty respectful. They weren't trying to fight them too much. They were not giving them everything, but they were giving them a ton of documents and shit like that. Not only did Donald Trump learn a lesson, I think Joe Biden learned a lesson too this time. I'm not giving them anything. I'm fucking stonewalling them.
Yeah.
If they're, if they want to complain about it, they could do whatever. But where I'm just going to send the Treasury out and they're going to say, there's nothing partisan about the way that we're doing this. We're doing it the same way that we did it when for the previous administration. I don't know what to say. And
policy,
when you ask us questions about what this person is claiming, I'm not going to address that because that person is a partisan and they're acting as a partisan. So I won't even address their claims because it's ridiculous. I think that's how they're gonna continue to shut these people down. Especially now that Jim Jordan is the head of judiciary. This guy's an election denier. He's a MAGA Republican. We're not going to work with extremists because we don't respect them. We can't.
Right.
These people we can't work with. We can work with moderate Republicans. Now with Jim Jordan. Now
Where's
with
Mitt
Comer.
Romney? If
We
Mitt
can't
Romney's
work with
not
these
on this,
people.
we're not doing this because
Can't work
this
with
is
these
just a bunch
people.
of partisan hackery. It's a
Yes.
partisan witch hunt.
Yes, I 1,000% think that that's what's going to happen.
Well, let me ask you this then. Let's take a step back
Yep.
and just look at the bigger picture of our wider political landscape at this point.
Yep.
Is this just what we do now? Is this all? I mean, it's been like this in some form for a while, but since Trump came into office, it's just constant. There's nothing but investigation, looking at impeachment. There's going to be articles of impeachment filed the minute Congress
They
comes
find
back
anything.
in. MTG is going to be sitting there like, well, this time it's for real because I got some numbers, bitch.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do this. But is just this the new normal? We just do partisan investigations back and forth until the entire country dissolves?
I think if we keep operating on razor thin margins like this, yes. Because these people are going to continue to jockey for power. There's kind of two different options that I see here. One of them much less likely than the other one. One of them is to elect better people. That's not going to happen.
No,
That's
well,
not,
the parties don't give you a chance for
yes,
that.
Yeah. So that's precisely. There's about 10 other steps that go into that first choice of electing better people.
Yeah.
The second thing is no, if we keep operating on razor thin margins like this. Yeah, thank you. Because the people that are in there are going to continue to jockey for power until they get it. And if impeachment proves true, especially if this works out, if they continue to work, they get something, it's fruitful in any fashion, that even though Donald Trump was not removed from office, he was impeached and they used that as a cudgel
Twice.
forever. They're going to continue to use it until he's no longer an object in the Republican Party, and by that time they will have found somebody else to hyper focus on to make as the devil that they can then
Death
draw.
Santis.
Yeah, and it's not even Donald Trump not running. He has to be gone from the party because
out of the public consciousness.
because they have drawn a circle around him, and anybody in that circle is unacceptable because they're a MAGA Republican, they're an election denier, they can't be trusted, they're against our democracy. That's what they've done. And so until
it's been set at this point.
yes, until
That's
the
where they're
circle
at.
is removed, those people, the MAGA Republicans as they've been labeled, cannot even hope to gain any Democratic support in voters because what would any of their friends think if they had a hand in electing a MAGA Republican, even though that might be better for the country at any given time,
Heaven forbid.
Yeah, so I think if the actual government stays this partisan in its construction, I think we will continue to see these investigations, especially if they continue to be fruitful even a little bit.
Yeah.
And if this one results in anything even more than the previous Trump investigations that will cement for me it's going to keep being like this.
Do you think if let's assume there's some there that are legitimate possible charges, and then we do a full-blown impeachment again, is the Congress so partisan at this point that no matter what happens, they will not vote to impeach?
I mean, you would have to have some blatant stuff. It would have to be obvious.
And we'd probably go the Clinton route or the Nixon route. The resignation would come before the actual impeachment.
Yes, because
I didn't think about that.
Because the Democrats would not want to, and it would take something so severe that he would be likely to resign from it, I think. Because it would, like I said, there's some pretty egregious sounding stuff in the laptop, you know, and even now that it's
so many levels,
even now that it's been corroborated, there's still no Democrats that are like, yeah, it's pretty sus. You know, it's pretty weird that this stuff is coming. You don't have to completely condemn the president to say there's some pretty weird shit that we just saw in this laptop, because it's not even just, like I said, not just the New York Post, ABC now that's telling you this. Even if in the most flowery language, that it's very likely that this copy of the material with no evidence of tampering is verified.
Yes.
Like, okay, so it's true.
That was wild.
Very weird. We
wild.
don't want to tell you that we're corroborating this, but we are in fact corroborating this.
A couple of years after the fact.
Even now
it's real.
that it's ABC, there are still no Democrats. So just underline, they have no principles. They don't really care about this. They don't actually care about any of this type of stuff. So I think you're probably right. Resignation is more likely than an actual removal from office. But
and at this point, like, too, I wouldn't even go as far as to say he would resign for the specific reasons for the investigation. It would, at this point, because they have the opportunity at this point, he just resigns for health reasons. And then there's nothing at that point. I could see that being the most, if it starts to get too hot.
Yeah,
he resigns for health reasons.
He would have to really be ahead of the gun.
And
He'd have to jump the gun, because he would know, he'll know, like, they're onto something.
Yeah.
You know, if he has any type of ear into the investigation, which I would imagine with as leaky as everything is, I would imagine if they start to really get some leverage, the investigation starts to get some leverage, he will find out, Joe Biden will find out about that, and he would, if that's the route, the health thing, he would have to jump the gun. But they've already signaled so much about him running in 2024 that I don't think he could get away with that.
But Biden said, he could die at any time. He could die tomorrow.
maybe if he takes another spill or something, like a really bad spill, then they could, but that's such a wild, I fell so bad I can't be president anymore.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
You've seen the way you walk.
Yeah, you're talking about running for president. What do you mean you fell so bad you can't run anymore? That doesn't make any sense.
No, bro. You're just elected Fetterman. Anybody can win. It's fine.
Yeah, they've bought way too far into him being able to be healthy. The guy's literally 80 years old now.
Yeah.
He's way too far into,
literally
I can
80.
do it. Yeah.
We failed to celebrate his birthday. Imagine that. I think it perfectly illustrates how, regardless of Biden and how this all turns out, he's not in charge. The party's in charge. It's the same with the Republicans. Mind you, they have a little bit of a civil war going on in their party, but the party is the one running these investigations, and they will continue to do so. We're so far removed away from actual, like, representative government at this point. It's just two warring oligarchies that just find meaning in fighting against each other. And this is their turn now.
Yeah.
Mind you, there might be some shit to actively investigate, but if there wasn't, I don't think it'd be too far a stretch to say we'd find something. They'd find something to start investigating and going after. Probably doesn't help, though, that all these politicians have been in for decades and decades and decades, and they've all been super corrupt from the jump. So there's always going to be something to investigate, regardless. But it doesn't give me a lot of hope for the future. Because I just think this is ops normal now at this point. The precedent has been set now. We're just doing this, and then occasionally we can come down on somebody that deserves it, more so than everybody else, and we'll get a small W, I guess. One of the most corrupt people got hit this time, and so that's cool. But the rest of the corrupt people will just keep doing what they're doing. Darkness.
Yeah. The last real point that I have is right along that vein of that it's worth noting, and I sent you a signal as well, and worth noting that both parties only care about whistleblowers when it's politically expedient to do so. They don't really care about the free flow of information. They care about negative information about their opponents and being able to spread that. Snowden is a Russian citizen, right? That happened during Barack Obama. Reality Winner was given legitimate prison time and is only now out. That was during Donald Trump.
I forgot about her.
That was during Donald Trump. They don't actually care about whistleblowers. They don't actually care about the free flow of information.
No.
They care that they can throw shit against the wall that will hopefully stick to their opponent. That is what they care about.
I'm into it.
Yeah. So I do have, and I'll send it to you now.
Boo, boo, boo.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm just going to send it in Signal to him.
This thing is just getting so demoralizing. Even for a guy that wants it all to burn, like me. Like, who just does not believe in the validity of any of this bullshit. It's getting hard to wade through the quagmire of corruption that is just constant.
Ooh.
Boom. The quagmire of corruption.
That was nice. That was really nice. That was off the cuff, and it was nice, and I like it.
Occasionally I can come through a little bit here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't make it zoom.
No, that's actually good right there.
Cool.
I think as long as
Yeah.
Depending on what the shot looks like, everyone can see us produce this. This is
Indeed.
behind the camera. We're producing a shot right now.
We're
just
kind
so
of a
everyone
break
knows.
the fourth wall type of people, anyways.
You guys know what it is. Yeah. So the last point that I have is the same thing we have for the
What's
end
your
of everything.
point,
Right.
Donovan?
That's really funny. I didn't even think about that. The last point that I have, I think, is the same thing that we always do at the end of the segments. Is what does this have to do with freedom and liberty? Right. That's what it's based around. So what does it have to do with it? I applaud the Republicans for doing what they said and investigating the Biden family, right? So if I'm going to give a little bit of credit, it seems obvious to me that they're defrauding the country by peddling their name. The Bidens are defrauding the country by peddling their name around the world to make money and lying about it at home. We know, based on some of the articles that we've covered, that they are far from the only ones, but to have a president as corrupt in a semi-veiled fashion as the leaders of some of these third world countries cements for me that America is in a decline and that it is our leaders that got us here. We need to re-embrace the personal and communal principles of liberty and personal responsibility that embody the American spirit. Putting our trust and hope in leaders like this will continue to yield the same result for as long as we do this.
Nicely put, good sir. Nicely put.
Thank you very much.
I think that's a great way to end this segment. Fantastic.
With that, we'll take our next break. We'll be back in just a few minutes for part 3. Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat.